नारायणं सुरगुरुं जगदेकनाथं भक्तप्रियं सकललोकनमस्कृतं च त्रैगुण्यवर्जितमजं विभुमाद्यमीशं वन्दे भवघ्नममरासुरसिद्धवन्द्यं नारायणाय परिपूर्णगुणार्णवाय विश्वोदयस्थितिलयो नियतिप्रदाय ज्ञानप्रदाय विबुधासुरसौख्यदुःख सत्कारणाय वितताय नमो नमस्ते नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये देवं नारायणं नत्वा सर्वदोषविवर्जितं परिपूर्णं गुरुं च गीतार्थं वक्ष्यामि देशतः लक्ष्मीनारायणं नत्वा पूर्णबोधान् गुरूनपि कुर्मः श्रीकृष्णगीतायाः भाष्यादुक्तार्थसङ्ग्रहम् हरिः ओम्. Good morning. This is the weekly Pratipada Artha, the word by word breakdown of the Bhagavad-Gita shlokas. And today we are looking at shloka number 31 of the 13th chapter. Obviously, we have seen till the 30th shloka. 30th shloka is essentially, the previous shloka is essentially the summary of the entire chapter. Prakritya evacha karmani kriyamanani sarvashaha. All the time, all the actions that are happening are basically being played out by the Prakriti, that sentient force of nature, right? The Moola Prakriti, the natural forces. Yaha pashyati tatha, the one who can see like this, Atmanam akartaram iti pashyati. The one who sees like this is the one who can think that Atma can be the pure Atma inside all of us, what we typically call as the soul, is Akartara, is the non-doer, he is not doing anything. The Atma is not doing anything. Right? And Atma can also be the Paramatma. There are two people, right? There is Jivatma and there is a Paramatma. There is divine Atma, which is just the pure onlooker. He is just the observer, right? And there is a Antaratma, there is a Jivatma, right, which is the individual Atma, the individual soul, which is clouded in its association of the guna and then enjoying the different things. Both of them are Akartara. They both are the non-doers of any action. If somebody can see this, they are the ones who really see the Tattva, the true nature of things. And that's the whole purpose of this chapter, right? And interestingly, when we say Saha Pashyati, Saha Parameshwaram Pashyati, because few shlokas earlier, when we started doing the build-up, we started talking about the Parameshwara Tattva, Upadrashta, Anumanta, Bharta, Bhokta, Maheshwaraha, right, which is shloka number 23. What shloka is that? Upadrashta, Anumanta, cha, Bharta. So from that point onward, we are also talking about that Paramatma Tattva, right? And then the discrimination between the Purusha Prakriti. So far in this chapter, we have seen the distinction being drawn between the Purusha Prakriti, right? Purusha is that insentient thing and sentient Prakriti, right? The transient, the one that has an end to it, and that kind of a Prakriti. Prakriti is a nature, the Shakti Tattva, and the Purusha, which is the Shiva Tattva, right? Inside all of us. Then there is an explanation given between the Kshetra and the Kshetrajna. Kshetra is the field at which everything is happening. The body is also a Kshetra. And that's what Krishna said. This Sharira is the Kshetra. This body is the Kshetra. And the one who is aware of the happenings in this field is the Kshetrajna. Right? There is an awareness inside all of us, which is a limited awareness. And then he also calls her that he is the only supreme awareness who is aware of all the fields. The Sarva Kshetreshu Ahameva Kshetrajna. Like, he is the only Kshetrajna. Then we saw the distinction between the Jnana and the Jnaya, the knowledge and the object of knowledge, the one to be known. And the one to be known is the Bhagavad Tattva, right? That Parama Akshara Brahma, like, that's the Anadi Matparam Brahma, na Sat na Asat, that's the kind of a Jnaya, right? So we learned about what is the Jnaya and what is the knowledge. And the knowledge comes with a lot of prerequisites, like, Amanitva, there is no pride and vanity, Adam Hitva, there is no hypocrisy, no Ahimsa, there is a lot of harm, unharming kind of an attitude. Ahimsa, kshantihi, lot of forbearance, like a lot of ability to bear with things, shantihi, and also to forgive a lot of things, shantihi, arjavam, straightforwardness, acharya upasanam, servitude kind of a nature, shaucham, clean, nature, clean body, clean mind, clean speech, shaucham, stairyam, that stability, stairyam, atma vinigraha, complete self-control, indriyartheshu vairagyam, disinterested nature in sense gratification, anahankaram, no ego, no excessive ego about me, myself, I, me, myself kind of a thing, ahankaram, evacha, janma, mrityu, jara, vyadi, dukkha, dosha, anudarshanam, having a very clear understanding of Janma, Mrityu, the birth, the death, the Dukkha, Jara, Vyadhi, the old age, the sickness, and these are the different kinds of dosha, the imperfections, right? Having a very clear understanding of these imperfections, you know, and then asakti. So all of those 18 qualities being laid out by Krishna, the jnana, and then abhyatma jnana nityatva, always looking at the essential knowledge behind everything. I might be able to see the screen, but what exactly is making the screen? What exactly is comprising the screen? The tattva, the elemental truth behind the screen. I might be seeing the cloth, but what is the elemental truth behind the cloth? Always seeking that adhyatma jnana, nityatva constantly, and tattva jnana darshana, and then looking at that knowledge which is permanent in nature, across the three timelines, right? And then finally coming to the previous shloka, Prakritya eva karmani kriyamanani. All the things that are happening through the Prakriti. When we say Prakriti now, I think we can safely call the Jnana, the Prakriti, and the Kshetra to be one subset. And Purusha is Purusha, Kshetrajna, and the Jnaya, Parama Purusha. These three can be clubbed as one thing. They are interchangeably used. And the one who looks at all the actions are thus happening by the play out of the Prakriti, they are the ones who truly, truly see the real essence of life. And they are the ones who also see the Bhagavad Tattva, the God Tattva, the God particle of this life. Right? That's where we adjourned the previous session. Today we move on to the next shloka, shloka number 31. It reads like this: Harihi Om. Om. We can click on the link given by Shraddhaji under the room title. It's a very beautiful one. We can make use of this one. So either use the Samskrita Devanagari script or the IANS script, which is given under the transliteration section, right? The shloka reads like this: Harihi Om. Om Prakrityaiva cha karmani kriyamānāni sarvashah yah pashyati tathatmānam akartāram sa pashyati. Prakrityaiva cha karmani kriyamānāni sarvashah yah pashyati tathatmānam akartāram sa pashyati. That's the shloka. We can break down the word. We scroll down a little bit. We see something called the padacheda, the word by word breakdown, right? It reads like this: Prakritya eva cha karmani kriyamanani sarvashah yah pashyati tatha atmanam akartaram sah pashyati. When we put these words into a proper sentence, we get something called the anvaya, right? Yah karmani sarvashah prakritya eva cha karmani kriyamanani. Sorry. Yah कर्माणि सर्वशः प्रकृत्या एव क्रियमाणानि तथा आत्मानम् अकर्तारम् इति पश्यति सः पश्यति. What does that mean? We click on dictionary. यह, the one who, जो आदमी, जो व्यक्ति, यह, one who, कर्माणि सर्वशः, all actions in all possible ways. Okay, कर्माणि सर्वशः प्रकृत्या एव ज्ञानि, are being done by the Prakriti alone. Prakriti verily, Prakriti indeed, eva verily. All actions in all possible ways, all the time, are being done by the Prakriti alone. The one who pashyati, one who sees like this, and tatha, and atmanam akartaram pashyati, and looks at the Atma to be the non-doer, Saha Pashyati, he is the one who sees. Or we can add, Yaha Sarvachaha Kriya Karmani, Karmani Prakritya Eva Kriyamanani iti Pashyati, Saha Atmanam Akartaram iti Pashyati. The one who sees all these actions are being played out by the Prakriti, he tends to see the Atma to be the non-doer. Saha Pashyati. Oh, we have seen this shloka, shloka number 30. My apologies. Right? Okay, we can just repeat it once again. So, Aurobind, the interpretation for this says, he who sees that all actions are verily done by Prakriti and that the self is the inactive witness, he sees. There is a little bit of opinion coming. We discussed this, I think, last week. The one who sees that Prakriti alone does everything and the Atma is non-doer, he is the one who truly, truly sees the Paramatma Tattva. That's one way of interpreting this. There are multiple ways in which we can interpret, right? That's one way of interpreting this statement. So let's go to the shloka today that we are supposed to comment from. Shloka number 31. In a similar fashion, we can click on this. Harihi Om. Yada bhuta pratagbhavamekasthamanupashyati tata eva cha vistaram brahma sampadhyate tata. Yada bhuta pratagbhavamekasthamanupashyati tata eva cha vistaram brahma sampadhyate tata. What does the Padacheda give us? Yada bhuta prathak bhavam ekastham anupashyati tataha eva cha vistaram brahma sampadhyate tada. What does the Anvaya sound like? Yada bhuta prathak bhavam ekastham tataha eva cha vistaram anupashyati tada brahma sampadhyate. What does that mean? Yada bhuta pradagbhavam ekastham tataha eva vistaram iti pashyati. Iti anupashyati, cha anupashyati. When somebody can see that all these various diversified existences of beings, bhuta pradagbhavam, when somebody can perceive anupashyati, when somebody can perceive that all these diversified existences of beings, like today I can see Shraddhaji, Sudhaji, GV Mahodaya, Shri Mahodaya, Vishwanath Mahodaya, there are different people, right? All these diversified existences of beings. There is something called the Clubhouse app, there is something called the web page, there are different things all around us. The diversified existences of beings. One who perceives them all to be ekastha, abiding in that one eternal being. Everything is part of that one big eternal being. See, I don't know if somebody has seen the videos of these murmurations of these birds and murmurations of the sheep. Just do some random Google check for the murmuration videos of the birds. We do see that there are tons of birds in the flock, in the pack, right? But it looks like one single entity being moving, right? And similarly, the murmuration of the sheep also. It looks like there is some connected consciousness between them all. Similarly, all of us are this connected consciousness in that Paramatma, Ekastham. We are all abiding in that one eternal being, Ekastham. Tataha eva vistaram. And from it, we are all spreading forth. Right? Vistara is a very beautiful word. Both I think even the Shankara Bhashya, Utpattim, this Jagat Utpattim, different things are constantly coming out of that one single entity. Utpatti is the birth, right? Utpatti is the creation. It's been created. It's been spread out. Right? Vistaram. Vistara is basically elaboration, right? Vistaram. So all the one who can perceive, cha anupashyati. Pashyati is see. Anupashyati is perceive. Because you have to apply some anumana, inferential knowledge. With whatever we have learned so far, we have to apply that inferential knowledge. Then we will be able to see it properly. We will be able to perceive it properly. The one who can perceive that all these various diversified beings, you, we, all of us included, right? All the diversified existence of beings are abiding in that one eternal being, the Paramatma, and then also spreading forth from it. You know, then one who, if somebody can perceive this kind of a nature, then that person, tada brahma sampadyate. He will earn some sampadana is basically earn, right? Attain, acquire the Brahma Tattva, then that person has truly acquired the true sense of the Brahma Tattva. He has truly understood the God essence. He has acquired the God Tattva, the God particle. So he has earned that God particle in him. So if somebody can perceive all of these things are interconnected through that consciousness, that singular universal consciousness. See, some of these things are going back to the seventh chapter, Mai Sarvamidam Protam Sutre Manigana Iva. So when we see the chain of pearls, do we see the individual pearls separately or do we see the necklace in its unity? And within the necklace, each of the pearl can be in different size, different shape, different color hue. No matter how much the jeweler has tried to put them all, uniformly, the pearls are naturally created ones, right? So they will have a different shape, different hue, different shine, different color. There are differences, and they're all connected through the singular thread. And then he elaborates the same thing in the sixth chapter also. In the seventh chapter, he explains how it is done. Like the sutra, like the thread that is holding all these individual pearls together. And then in the sixth chapter, he says, Yomam Pashyati Sarvatra, Sarvam Chamayi Pashyati. The one who can see that Bhagavad Tattva in everything and also see everything to be contained in that Bhagavad Tattva. No, that's the true dhyana avastha. That's the true nature of the stoic, person. That's the true nature of being that tranquil state, the completely unmoving, unwavering, samadhi, siddhi kind of a state. That's the that that stoic nature itself is a Brahma Sampadana. That stoic nature, that tranquil nature itself is that Brahma Tattva, acquiring the Brahma Tattva, earning the Brahma Tattva, being in the Brahma Tattva, Brahmi Sthiti, things like that. So this is just an explanation. But in this chapter, this has been explained from the context of once you understand the Tattva. See, remember, this stoic nature, according to what we heard in a few shlokas ago, Dhyanena Atmani Pashyanti. There are some people who attain this through the Dhyana Avastha, through the continuous practice of meditation. So that becomes the objective meditation. The objective of any meditation is to attain that Shanta Svabha, that peaceful, stoic, tranquil attitude, self, where we can see that oneness and not in a fake way. It just becomes internalized, right? Not forcefully telling ourselves in a superficial way that this is all the same. So we have to truly see that Bhagavad Tattva, that Nirdosha, Samam Brahma, that Sama Ishvara, Samavasthita Ishvara. That's precisely what was told in this chapter. Right? So the, some people can attain that through the dhyana practice, meditation. Some people can practice, attain that equanimity by just understanding the tattva, and that is what we heard in this chapter so far. And some people can attain that equanimity through the relentless, un, yielding kind of a commitment to their duty. That's Swadharma. Keep doing that. There are difficulties in executing our duties. To be a father, there are tons of difficulties. To be a son, there are tons of difficulties. To be a student, to be a husband, to be a wife, for every role as an employee. So we have tons of hurdles. We have to develop that equanimity, keep going on and on and on, relentlessly, that perseverance, right? To attain that, we have to develop that equanimity, and that is where we develop that Brahma Sampadana, Brahma Tattva Sampadana, where we earn that Brahma Tattva. And so this is basically, now we are almost coming to the conclusion of this chapter, where this chapter is all about separation, right? Look at the whole life, keep an arm's distance. You look at the Prakriti, you look at the Purusha. You look at the Kshetra, you look at the Kshetrajna. You look at the Jnana and the true Jnaya, the true object of all of this, right? Have an arm's distance and then look at everything. So you basically attain that stoic nature. So we are now almost coming to the Upasamhara, the debrief part, right? Let's quickly see what Aurobindo's interpretation says for this sloka. When he perceives the diversified existence of beings abiding in the one eternal being and spreading forth from it, then he attains to the Brahman. He's part of that big picture now. We becoming Brahma means that we are in complete sync with that one big picture, the God's device. Okay, let's move on to the next shloka. Hari Om. Om Anaditvan Nirgunatvat Paramatmayam Avyayah Sharirasthopi Kaunteya Nakaroti Nalipyate. Anaditvan Nirgunatvat Paramatmayam Avyayah Sharirasthopi Kaunteya Nakaroti Nalipyate. What does the Padacheda give us? Anaditvat Nirgunatvat Paramatma ayam avyayah sharirastha api kaunteya na karoti na lipyate. Now, let's see how it sounds when we put it into a proper sentence, right? Hey kaunteya, anaditvat nirgunatvat ayam avyayah paramatma sharirastha api na karoti na lipyate. Right? Hey Kaunteya, hey Kunti Putra Arjun. Now again, very endearing kind of a Sambodhana, right? When he addresses, whenever Krishna addresses Arjuna as Kaunteya, it's a very endearing. Hey Kaunteya, oh Kunti Putra Arjun, Anaditvat. Because of the fact that it is Anadi. Anadi at the face of it means without Adi. Na Adihi Yasya Saha Anadihi. The one who doesn't have a beginning. For the fact that it is without origin and because it is that eternal thing. So the one that doesn't have an origin obviously is eternal, right? It is a sanatana. It is eternal. Because of the fact that it's anadi and because of the fact that it's nirguna, nirgunatvat, for not being limited by the qualities. I am this avyayaha paramatma, the imperishable, unchanging paramatma, supreme self. Sharirastha api, even though seated in the body, even though seated in the sharira, na karoti, does not do anything, na lipyate, is not affected by those actions, not tainted by those actions. Right? Very beautifully. Because of the fact that he Kaunteya, this Parama Purusha, this Avyaya Paramatma, because of the fact that he is Anadi, he has this Anaditva, the capability called Anaditva and the Nirgunatva. Because of these two qualities, even though he is Sharirastha, he is seated in the body, he is stationed in the body, he doesn't do anything, he doesn't get tainted by anything. He only enjoys Vishayan Upasevate. That is something that we heard right earlier when we studied the 15th chapter. He is the one who is enjoying. No, Bharta Bhokta, he is the one who is consuming everything. In the same chapter, in this chapter, few slokas earlier, we saw that, Upadrashta, Hanumanta, Bharta Bhokta. At the end of the day, all the good things are being enjoyed by him. If in this satsanga, some good thoughts come out, it's him who is enjoying it all. Right? But he is not doing anything. Right? He is given us that freedom. There is a Dasta Swatantra. There is a limited freedom to all of us where we can put in our intent to the table. We can bring our prayatna, the effort to the table. We can put the Ichha Shakti and the Prayatna, Kriya Shakti. We can bring those two Shakti to the table. We can do. Right? He is not doing it. That Paramatma, he is not doing anything. This Jivatma, who is clouded in this Sharirika, Prakritika gunas, that Jivatma can bring in the intent and do. But this Avyaya Paramatma, he is not doing anything. He is not also getting tainted by anything, but he is there sitting next to us, sitting next to this Jivatma, he is also sitting inside this body. Now he says, because of the fact that he has a quality called Anaditva and Nirgunatva. See, the way to understand this Anaditva, I think this has been explained when we saw the 10th chapter, right? Yoma Majamanadim cha vetti loka maheshwaram asam mudha samatyeshu sarva papa hi pramuchyate. The one who understands this Maheshwara to be the Anadi. And that's where we discussed a little then. Anadi at the face of it is Yasya na Adihi Saha Anadihi. The one who doesn't have a beginning is Anadi. But Anadi is also Anasya Adi. Ana is the Pranadeva, the breath, the supreme breath, the life. Life is called Prana. Like when we say in our Samskrita, when the life is gone, we say Prana, Prana, Gata Asun, Agata Asun, Gata Prana. You know, Prana is the life, the chief breath, right? Prana is also the chief breath. Ana is basically the Prakrishta Ana becomes Prana. Right? Ana is basically the Vayudeva. Anasya Adi. He is the one who started this life by installing Pranadeva. Right? He created Pranadeva. He let the Pranadeva on the course, and then from then on, it's on an autopilot mode. He doesn't have any. He's just silently sitting in the Shesha Shayana. He's just sleeping all through the entire creation. Right? So because of that fact that he is Anasya Adi, he just set the thing in motion, and now the Swabhava is Pravartate. All the things that are happening are basically our Swabhava that is set in motion through our Jiva, through our Prana Shakti. We are letting it go. And that's the reason he is Akarta. He is the non-doer. And Nalipyate, and nothing taints him also. Anything bad that happens, it's the Jivatma that takes all the bad efforts. All the good things he is just simply enjoying. Right? That's the nature of the Paramatma. We spoke about this in length in the fifth chapter, but I think now he's telling because of the fact that he is the Anaditva that we had explained in the 10th chapter, and also Nirgunatva. Nirgunatva was explained in this chapter, right? Sarvendriya Gunabhasam, Sarvendriya Vivarjitam. I think somewhere when we were discussing the Jneyah Yattat Pravakshyami. So, Sarvendriya Gunabhasam, Sarvendriya Vivarjitam. It is that shloka number 15, shloka number 1-5. The Nirgunatva, Nirgunam Gunabhoktrita. The Nirgunatva basically comes because of the fact that he doesn't have his own sense organs. He doesn't have his own, the organs of action also. Like he doesn't have either the karmendriyas nor the jnanendriyas of his own. But he is the one who has given the power to our sense organs, our organs of action, and then try to enjoy them all. No, sarvendriya vivarjita, but asattam sarva bhritchaiva, nirgunam guna bhoktrita. He is nirguna, but he is the guna bhoktri. He doesn't have any gunas of his own, but he is the one who's enjoying everything that comes from all the gunas, guna bhoktrita. And the fact is because he activates our indriyas, our gunas and the indriyas. And he has just activated that, and he himself is without any such indriya of his own. Because of these two facts, that he is Anasya Adi, and he is the Sarvendriya Gunabhasa, because of which he will be called the Anaditva. He possesses something called the Anaditva, and he possesses something called the Nirgunatva. He doesn't have any indriyas of his own, nor does he have the gunas of his own. Gunas are from him, he doesn't have any pain from that. Because of these two facts, even though he resides in all our bodies, na karoti, he is not doing anything, and na karmani lipyate, the lilimpati, nothing attaches to him, nothing gets tainted to him, right? And I think why he's perhaps telling this is that many of us do have the wrong notion when we go to Bhagavan, when we go to the chief Lord, God, we tend to tell him that, oh God, please help me in this situation, right? Any help in any situation, Bhagavan can't do anything without our effort. We have to put in our best efforts possible because he doesn't do anything directly. And that is precisely what he displayed as an example in Mahabharata also. At best, he played the role of a Sarathi, the charioteer, right? He didn't pick a single weapon. I mean, there is a debate on the Sudarshana Chakra being picked up. We will discuss that separate. It's an exception. It's not a direct war. It's not a direct attack. That's another thing altogether. It's an illusion. It's a creation of an illusion, right? Those things he will do. But we will have to bring our efforts. The Arjunas, the Bhimas, the Yudhishthir, the Nakulas, Sahadevas, they have to fight the war. If they turn away from the war, he then came up with the Bhagavad-Gita. He has this Bhagavad-Gita to help us, get back to the track and do our duties. He doesn't do anything. He has mentioned that earlier also. Na adatte kaschachit papam na chaiva sukritam. He don't expect the Bhagavan to do any good deeds or the bad deeds of the person. Oh, I want that person to be dead. Oh, Bhagavan, please get his life off. Bhagavan doesn't do any of these things. If you think he is the adharmi, he has to be assassinated, you have to pick up the gun and kill him. That's exactly what Arjuna is being told. If you think Duryodhana and the gang are the Atatai, the extreme of the sinners, you have to pick up and fight. You have to get up and fight. Don't expect me to do anything. So, Sharirastha api, even though he resides in our own bodies, in all our body, don't expect Bhagavan to do anything. He will remain to be the Upadrasta. He will be a silent witness. Sakshi, Gatihi, Bharta, the various things where the Bhagavan's dormant, inert kind of an activities are being explained. That is what Bhagavan is. And he will bless us by making sure that our paths are clear, like making sure the Adidaivika forces are coming in the proper way. Nothing beyond. We have to bring in our effort. We have to bring in our intent properly to the table. Right? That's basically what he perhaps is giving this message Arjuna for. Right? No, don't expect me to do anything. I am the na karoti na lipyate. Nothing taints me. I don't do any action. Because of the fact that he is anadi and he is nirguna. Nirguna basically means that he doesn't have any karmendriyas, jnanendriyas, and the gunas of his own. It is for us, but through our experiences, he enjoys life. And he is anadi. He is the one who's activated this life through the prana deva. Let's see what Aurobindo's interpretation says. Because it is without origin and eternal, not limited by the qualities, the imperishable Supreme Self, though seated in the body, O Kaunteya, does not act nor is affected by the karma. Let's go to the next sloka. So when we see all of these things, right? No, yo mam pashyati sarvatra, sarvancha mai pashyati. This Atma, this Paramatma, I think, no, Brahma me vedagam sarvam, Purusha me vedagam sarvam. So this line comes in the Shvetashvatara, few other Upanishads. Similarly, there is a Chandogya. Uh, in some Upanishads, it is referred to as Brahma. In some Upanishads, it's referred to as Purusha. In some Upanishads, it's being referred to as Atma, like Chandogya. Atma Vedagam Sarvam. Like there are some lines in Chandogya that say Atma Eva Idam Sarvam. Like everything is Atma. Shvetashvatara says that Brahma, Purusha itself is everything. It's Purusha. So these are interchangeably used in different Upanishads also. And because this Bhagavad-Gita is the quintessential summary of the various Upanishads, in this chapter we see these Purusha, Brahma, Kshetrajna, Jnaya, all of these things being interchangeably used. And that Jnaya is nothing but, Parabrahma, that, Anadi, Matparam Brahma, Nasattam Nasaduchyate. So these are also interchangeably used. And then, when we look at Chandogya, Chandogya also, Atmatah Prana, Atmatah Asha, Atmatah Smara, Atmatah Akasha, Atmatah Tejaha, Atmatah Apaha, Atmatah Avidbhava, Tirobhava, Atmatah Annam. So everything comes from that Atma, which is the Paramatma. Everything comes from that Brahma. So that Vistara, Ekastha, and then Tataha Vistara. And then that Atma doesn't do anything. That Paramatma is not the doer at all. No, Atma is completely Nirguna, but Guna Bhoktru, and that Atma na karoti na lipyati. So basically, when we see these slokas, Bhagavad-Gita, essentially it is summarizing to us the quintessential messages from the various Upanishads. Right? And then it continues, right? Sloka number 33. I think when we see Sloka number 33, it further elaborates the same points that are there in all the Upanishads. And something we have seen quite a few times in the Bhagavad-Gita also. That's why the Bhagavad-Gita, when we do the Pushpika, right, towards the end, when we At the end of every chapter, we say Bhagavad-Gita su Upanishad. We use the Bahuvachana, the plural word for in these Bhagavad-Gita's Upanishad. There are many Bhagavad-Gitas apparently. The way it sounds, Bhagavad-Gita su, there are many, many Bhagavad-Gitas, right? And that's because it's been repeated multiple number of times. The same messages in different contexts, the same things are explained multiple number of times. And the way at least I look at it, every time one Bhagavan Uvacha begins and the Bhagavan Uvacha ends, the entire length of Bhagavan conversation, in the conversation, the entire dialogue of the Bhagavan, each one dialogue of the Bhagavan, no matter some of them are in just two shlokas, the Bhagavan Uvacha ends before a new Arjuna Uvacha begins. Things like that, right? And there could be 72 shlokas of Bhagavan Uvacha also. The longest in the Bhagavad-Gita of Bhagavan Uvacha is 72 shlokas. And the second longest is 71 shlokas, right? So even when we see that also, each of those Bhagavan Uvachas can be termed as one Bhagavad-Gita, perhaps. Right? Because there are many, many Bhagavad-Gita. When we say Bhagavad-Gita, so he keeps repeating them. Okay, let's go to the next shloka, shloka number 33. Basically, now we are almost concluding this chapter. Hari Om. Yatha sarvagatam saukshmyadakasham nopalipyate sarvatra vasthito dehe tathatma nopalipyate. Yatha sarvagatam saukshmyadakasham nopalipyate sarvatra vasthito dehe tathatma nopalipyate. What does the Padacheda give us? Yatha sarvagatam saukshmyat akasham na upalipyate. Sarvatra avasthitah dehe tatha atma na upalipyate. So atma, right? So we spoke about the interchangeability of these terms. Brahma, Purusha, Paramatma, Atma, Jnaya. See the interchangeability. So let's see how these words sound when we put them into a proper sentence. Anvaya. Yatha sarvagatam akasham saukshmyat na upalipyate. Tatha dehe sarvatra avasthitah atma na upalipyate. Basically telling that Paramatma is untainted, just like how Akasha. Yatha sarvagatam akasham. Let's see the meaning of it, right? We click on dictionary. Yatha sarvagatam akasham. Just like how the all-pervading Akasha or the ether. Saukshmyat. Because of the sukshma svabhava. Because of its extreme subtlety. Na upalipyate, is not affected. Right? So Saukshmyat is basically Sukshma Bhavat, because of its extreme subtlety. Na upalipyate. Tatha dehe, there similarly in the body, in the deha, sarvatra avasthitah atma, the all-pervading atma or the everywhere seated atma, the self. Atma is the self, right? Na upalipyate, is not affected. So Saukshmyat, subtlety, is basically asangatva. The extreme subtlety of the Akasha is that it is not attached. Like when, for example, there is some bit of sky, the ether, inside all our bodies. When we typically see where is the Akasha, where is the sky, we tend to look up. But is that the only place where the Akasha or the sky is? The sky is there everywhere. Around us, like inside my body, inside my phone, inside my house, under my ceiling, the sky is there. But we tend to have an attachment. Oh, this is not the sky. The sky needs to be blue in nature. But the Akasha is basically there everywhere. Below the feet is Akasha. Around all of us is Akasha. Above the head is also Akasha. The sky is all pervading. But because it is Saukshmyat, because of its Sukshma Svabhava, the Sukshma Svabhava is basically its unattached nature. Though it is inside the body, it is not attached to my body. Though it is inside my house, it is unattached to my house. Though it is outside of this space, under the ozone layer, it is not attached to the earth. It is well beyond the earth, it is beyond the universe. Akasha is all pervading. Similarly, the Atma, it's in my eyes, it's in my nose, it's in my stomach, it's in my hand, it's there everywhere. And it's beyond the body also. It goes along with the body, it's beyond the body also. Right? So similarly, the simile being drawn is just like how Akasha, though being everywhere, all pervading, is not affected by any object, right? The Vayu and the so this example was also quoted in the ninth chapter. Just like how the Vayu is in the Akasha, all the jivas are in him and not in him. Na avastitah, avastitah, both are being called out. Similarly, because there is no attachment, right? Similarly, the Atma is all pervading in the body. It is there in every cell of the body, but it is not attached to anything in the body, right? It's all Prakriti. The Prakritika Sharira is kept separately. And here, this Atma can be the Paramatma. Because the Jivatma, there is no pure Jivatma. Jivatma is always tainted by the Guna and believes that, this is him. No, this is my hand. This is my feet. The Jivatma has that distinction. But Paramatma doesn't have that distinction. There is no attachment at all. It is untainted. So now we are looking at the debrief to the chapter where a nice simile is being drawn. We have to understand how the Atma is. It is like the Akasha Tattva. And again, Akasha Tattva, the subtle ether, is for the believer. For those who don't want to believe, no, there is nothing called Akasha. Like the Charvaka, when we go to the Charvaka school of thought, which is the non-believer school of thought, they believe in only four tattva. Everything in this universe can be explained through those four tattva. Prithvi, Aap, Tejas, and the Vayu. There is no Akasha tattva. These are the four. Like when we see the cross is supposed to be indicative of those four non-believers tattva, the tattvas of the Charvakas, right? The light, the wind, the water, and the earth. These are the four tattva, right? There is no akasha, there is no sky. Sky is just the extension of the wind or the vacuum, the lack of it, but there is nothing called akasha. Everything can be explained for a charvaka within these four concepts. So akasha, to be able to understand that there is akasha, you have to be a believer. We have to understand, okay, this is there. And this understanding comes through inferential deduction of the knowledge, right? A lot of inferential deductions, we will understand, okay, there is something called the Akasha Tattva. Similarly, Atma is also understood the same inferential way. And the simile is very, very apt. Just like how the Akasha is there everywhere, but is not affected to everything. So much so that some people even believe that Akasha doesn't even exist. Similarly, Atma also, though being all pervading in the body, is not attached to anything. Avastitaha. So look at the repeat use of the prefix pashyati, upadrishyati, upadrashta, upalipyate. All of this upa subs, right? Not direct. We have to look at them through inferential lens. Upalipyate. It might look like he is the one. Like for example, oh, Bharata is shouting. No, it's not Bharata who is shouting. It's his Swabhava, and that Atma called the Bharata, in its true sense, it's a Shuddha Atma. There is no attachment to it. Oh, Bhagavan is then there in Bhagavan, Bharata's body. He is the one who's doing all of this. No, no, no. Bhagavan is not doing anything. He is like the Akasha. He is there in all of us, but he is not attached to anything. He is not doing anything. Let's see what Aurobindo interpretation says for this sloka. As the all-pervading ether is not affected by reason of its subtlety, due to the fact of it being extremely subtle, so seated everywhere in the body, the Atma, the self, is not affected. Okay, we move on to the next sloka, sloka number 34. Hari Om. Om Yatha Prakasha Yatyeka Krishnam Lokamimam Ravi Kshetram Kshetri Tatha Kritsnam Prakashayati Bharata. Yatha Prakashayatyekaha Kritsnam Lokamimam Ravihi. Kshetram Kshetri Tatha Kritsnam Prakashayati Bharata. Right? What does the Padacheda give us? Yatha Prakashayati Ekaha Kritsnam Lokam Imam Ravihi. Kshetram Kshetri Tatha Kritsnam Prakashayati O Bharata. Let's see what the Anvaya sounds like. Hey Bharata, Yatha Ekah Ravihi Imam Kritsnam Lokam Prakashayati Tatha Kshetri Kritsnam Kshetram Prakashayati. The Prakasha. Kasha is space. Prakrishta Kasha. Prakasha. Right? What does that mean? Hey Bharata, O Bharata. So Bharata is one Sambodhana, right? This Bharata is Bhagavad-Gita, Bharata, right? While Bharata means the progeny of the Bharata Vamsha, when we look at the Nirvachana, the etymological sense of the word Bharata, Bharata basically means Bhagavad-Gita, the one who is inclined towards the God Tattva, no, believing in the God Tattva, going behind the God Tattva. And from now, no, from this 13th chapter till the 16th chapter, we will see the repeat use, maximum number of times, the word Bharata, Bharatarshava, all of these things, Bharata Sattama, something like that, all of these things come maximum during these 3, 4 chapters, 13th chapter, 14, 15, 16. So this is the phase in which we hear a lot of Bharata, Bharatarshava kind of a exclamation to Arjuna. So he's drawing him to the Bhagavad Tattva, right? Hey Bharata, oh best among the Bharata, oh Bharata Vamshi, Arjuna, Yatha Ekah Ravi, just like how one Ravi, one sun, Imam Krishnam Lokam Prakashayati, will illuminate the entire world. Just like how one sun is enough to illumine the entire earth, entire world, right? The same sun is providing the light, illuminates the plant, the caves, the people, everything that we see is basically through Ravi, right? In fact, there is another deeper meaning to this. When we see the example of Ravi being quoted, when you see the screen, right? When you see imagine there is no artificial light in this world. There is only natural light, and the natural light is the sunlight. I might be seeing the stone, but basically in the stone, I'm actually seeing the reflection of the light in the stone. Everything is a reflection of that light, right? So basically, if we can understand that tattva, I see the Ravi. I don't see the stone, I see the sun. I might be seeing the tree, but in seeing the tree, I'm actually seeing the reflection of the sun, reflection of the tree of the sunlight. Right? Basically, I'm seeing the sunlight. Similarly, there is a Atma, there is a Paramatma inside all of us. We should be able to see that. I might be seeing Sudhaji, but Sudhaji is basically being reflected by the power of the Bhagavad Tattva. So I need to see the Bhagavan Tattva. Some of us don't accept it, right? So very nice example. Just like how one Ravi is enough to illumine the entire earth. Tatha Kshetri Krishnam Kshetram Prakashayati. Similarly, this Lord of the field, the dweller of the field, the Kshetri, Imam Krishnam Kshetram Prakashayati, will illumine this entire field. Right? So the example I was quoting, when we see the book, we are basically seeing the light being reflected in the book. If there is no light, we will not be able to see the book. It's a light that we see, reflection of the light that we see. And the light is the supreme source of life, supreme source of sight. So whatever we see is basically that Bhagavan, that Tattva, that the true essence behind the light, which is the Ravi. Similarly, in every person, in every aspect of the Kshetra, Kshetra can be the body, Kshetra is the field. He in fact said and in this Kshetra, that what we see in everything, in every aspect of the Kshetra, he is the Kshetri, the Paramatma Tattva. Very beautifully he is. And that Paramatma Tattva is the one that is illuminating this entire Kshetra. So basically, we also need to see the same, Samavasthitam Ishwaram Anupashyati. We have to see the same equal Ishvara in everything. And the Ravi, when we see the sun, right, we might be seeing the rock differently, we might be seeing the tree differently. But the sun that is reflecting them all is the same. And he is not doing any partiality. After the sunrise, 8.5 minutes, it takes the sun rays to hit the earth, right? After that, it's autopilot, right? The sun keeps burning the same way. The sun is the same in a relative way, but there's a line from the Pink Floyd song, right? The sun is the same in a relative way, but you're old, or something like that. The sun is the same. He's just the same, but in a relative way, right? And the relativity comes because of this nature, the natural things, the prakritika, material objects. Right? That is where the relativity comes into play. The sun is the same, whether the light in the tree or the light from the stone, the reflection of the stone or the tree, whether the weather in Seattle or in London or in Hyderabad. So Hyderabad is very hot, because the nature around is a very boulder kind of a region, right? It's all rocky, hilly kind of a region. London has a different climatic condition. Seattle is very, very gloomy, very depressing kind of a temperature. The nature is different, but the Ravi is the same. But that Ravi is the same Ravi which is illuminating all different places, right from Arctic to Antarctic to Greenland to Iceland to Australia to India, all the places, Africa, all the places are illuminated by the same Ravi. And he is unpartial, without any partiality. Similarly, this Paramatma who is inside all of us, he is the one who is illuminating this entire Kshetra, and he is also equal. He is also not directly involved. Like imagine sun is so many kilometers away from Earth. He is not even direct. He is just distant guy. But he is the same guy who is illuminating all of us. Similarly, Atma, he is Durastham and Antikecha. He is inside all of us also, but he is too far away because he is not attached to anything. He is like the sun. The sunlight has entered our lives, but sun is too far away, right? So similarly, the Atma. So the simile being drawn is so brilliant, right? And just like how we are looking at the sunlight in everything, we have to see the Bhagavad Tattva in everything, in this kshetra, in this field of life. Let's quickly see what Aurobindo's interpretation says. As the one sun illumines the entire earth, so the Lord of the field illumines the entire field, O Bharata. Very simplistic. With that, we move on to the next shloka. Shloka 35 is the last shloka of the chapter. Hari Om. क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञयोरेवमन्तरं ज्ञानचक्षुषा भूतप्रकृतिमोक्षं च ये विदुर्यान्ति ते परम् क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञयोरेवमन्तरं ज्ञानचक्षुषा भूतप्रकृतिमोक्षं च ये विदुर्यान्ति ते परम्. That's the shloka. Let's see the padacheda. क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञयोः एवम् अन्तरं ज्ञानचक्षुषा भूतप्रकृतिमोक्षं च ये विदुः यान्ति ते param. Now let's put that into a proper sense. Makes sense. Anvaya, right? There is a section just above Padacheda called Anvaya. Evam Kshetra Kshetrajnayoho Antaram Bhuta Prakriti Mokshancha Ye Jnana Chakyusha Viduhu Te Param Yanti. What does that mean? Evam, like this, thus, thus is all the way, whatever explanations we have heard so far in this chapter. Thus, Kshetra Kshetrajnayoho Antaram. The difference between the Kshetra and the Kshetrajna. Right? The difference between the field and the knower of the field. And Bhuta Prakriti Mokshancha. And also the liberation of the beings from the Prakriti. Bhutanam Prakriteha Moksham. The separation of the individual entities to the Moola Prakriti. So, and you see, at the end of the day, all of us are one part Prakritika composition and one part Paramatmika Chitta, the consciousness, shared consciousness of the Paramatma, and the Prakritika, the combination of the material, integrated self, right? Our hands, hair, skin, everything is touchy-feely in the material. So, and there is a liberation. Like when we separate the Purusha and the Prakriti, there is a liberation, right? So the one who truly understands this difference between the Kshetrajna and the liberation of the individual being from the Moola Prakriti. All of us are from this Moola Prakriti, right? So, ye jnana chakshusha viduhu, the one who can perceive these things through the eye of the knowledge, with the help of the eye of knowledge. Again, right? A lot of inferential skill to be brought into play. Okay, te param yanti, they will attain the supreme. So basically, three things, right? There is kshetra, there is kshetrajna, there is bhuta, there is prakriti, right? There is jivatma, there is paramatma, there is jada, there is sentient creation, and there is a prakriti. There is a moola, the primordial nature. Essentially, all our shastras are basically helping us understand the relationship between the non-living, the living, and the God particle. So one who can clearly differentiate between the the field and the ultimate awareness of the field. The one who can differentiate between the bhuta, the beings, and the prakriti, and the liberation of one from the other through the jnana chakshu, through the eyes of the knowledge, through the proper, tattva jnana, elemental truth, essential truth. Te param yanti, they will attain the supreme Brahma Tattva. They are in the supreme self. They are in the liberation path. And param is basically, that the only knowledge is the one that can help us get liberated. Sa vidya yad muktaye. So that brings us to the conclusion of the 13th chapter. We go to the next chapter. For that, we have to come back to the index and then navigate. We come to the 14th chapter, 14/1. You can directly change in the address bar of the web page, right? Towards the end, you can just put it as 14/1. Right? We go to the first shloka of the 14th chapter. But please note, the 14th chapter is essentially a continuation of the 13th chapter. No new chapter. I mean, there is no new question from Arjuna. So basically, he continues to say. What does he say? The first shloka, Hari Om. Param bhuyah pravakshyami jnanana jnanamuttamam yajnatu munayah sarve param siddhimito gata. Param bhuyah pravakshyami jnananam jnanamuttamam yajnatva munayah sarve param siddhimito gata. Let's see the Padacheda. Padacheda says, Param bhuyah pravakshyami jnananam jnanam uttamam yat jnatva munayah sarve param siddhim itah gataha. How does the Anvaya sound like when we put the same words in a proper sentence? The Anvaya, Sri Bhagavan Vacha, Jnananam Uttamam Param Jnanam Bhuyah Pravakshyami. Full stop. I think we have to put a full stop. Yat Jnatva Sarve Munayah Itah Param Siddhim Gataha. Either a comma or a full stop. I think both are missing. I think one of them would be beneficial. After Pravakshyami, let's put a full stop. Right? Let's understand the first part. What does it mean? We click on dictionary. Right? When we click on dictionary, A. Bhagavan Vacha, Bhagavan says, Jnananam Uttamam Param Jnanam. The knowledge, the supreme knowledge, which is highest among all the knowledge, all the knowings. Jnananam, of all the knowings, Uttamam, the highest, Param Jnanam, the supreme knowledge, Bhuyah Pravakshyami. I shall declare again. I will declare again. Bhuyah. Bhuyah is coming again, right? Second time we are hearing this word Bhuyah Pravakshyami, Bhuyah, no, Shrunu. He used the same word in the 10th chapter, Bhuya Eva Mahabahu, Shrunume Param Vachaha. Basically, Krishna, with these two shlokas, is also hinting that, there is a lot of repeat happening in this Bhagavad Gita. A lot of messages keep coming again and again, but they come with a different context. That's something that we need to understand. You can't just scratch it off, strike it off, saying that this is repeat, this is useless. There is a reason why Krishna would do that, right? The repeat messaging concept, right? So bhuyah pravakshyami. So jnananam uttamam param jnanam bhuyah pravakshyami. Yet jnatva, knowing which, having known which. Like Sarve Munaya, all the Munis, all the sages, Itaha, from this, through this, Param Siddhim Gataha, they have attained, they have gone to the highest state of perfection, Siddhi, achievement. See, Siddhi, Munis and the Siddhis, this is something being called out in the 7th chapter. Manushyanam Sahasreshu Kaschid Yatati Siddhaye. Yatataamapi siddhanam kaschin mam vetti tattvataha. Basically, in the 7th chapter, at the beginning of the 7th chapter, Krishna tells that of the thousands of the humans in this planet, a very few handful will truly seek siddhi, real purpose of life and achieving, fulfilling that purpose of life, right? Siddhi is basically, siddhi can be understood in different ways, right? Siddhi, like in Kannada, siddhi is basically getting ready, something that has been readied. That is siddhi, like maduvege siddha padisu, jatrege siddha padisu, like get it ready for this jatra, getting decked up for the marriage. Siddhi is that, getting ready, like kacha supari to a pakka supari. You just fry the supari and make it pakka, make it ready to use. Something that is ready to use is siddhi. At a very simplistic level, siddhi means something that is ready for use, like a quality product. See, when we go to quality, a subject called quality, we all know, right? Oh, I want my laptop to be of the highest quality. But what is quality? One of the fundamental definitions of the word quality is fitness to use, right? It is fit to use. If something is fit to use, that's of high quality, that's of good quality, where then you define all your usability criteria. Something is being created to those definitions of the usability. Something is now fit for use, then it is of high good quality. That is how the basic, and Siddhi is also like that. So Siddhi, when we look at the Amara Kosha, the dictionary, Siddhi is Yogya, Siddhi is Lakshmi, right? Now, so Param Siddhim is the highest sense of achievement, highest sense of fitness, highest sense of fitness for use. Again, not fitness for any other purpose. No, it's not the well chiseled body. If you choke your heart and die of heart attack in the age of 35, 40. Today, a lot of people who are chronic gym users, right? They might look like appearing with a very highly chiseled body. That may not be extreme fitness for life, because you're not even making the body fit, useful for a long life, right? So the fitness is basically the wholesome fitness, where you really make good use of the life. You don't drag your feet along in this life. You don't drag this life in the ventilator kind of a thing. You're fit for use. The life is also put to, the body is to be used for living life. So that's siddhi. Having a long life is siddhi. Having a long active life is siddhi. Having, creating a product which will serve humanity for a long term is siddhi. Doing some useful thing all our life for the sake of the societal upliftment is siddhi. Now that can be understood in different ways. But siddhi essentially means getting ready, keeping something fit for life, for usage, fit, giving something fit. In the 7th chapter, what Bhagavan says is, of the thousands of people, very few people truly aspire for siddhi. Kaschid yatati siddhaye. Most of us want to be that, another brick in the wall kind of a syndrome. Also ranks. We might be thinking that, I want to do something different, But no, we are cut for that sheep mentality. Like, we are cut out only for that, that herd mentality. We just want to be another brick in the wall. Most of us are passing our life like that. Very few people truly, truly aspire to create something that meaningful to the society, right? Kaschid yatati siddhaya. That's exactly what Krishna spoke in the seventh chapter. And even among the people who tasted success, yatatam siddhanam, even among those people who truly, truly achieved something brilliant for the society, very few people understood the Bhagavad Tattva, Mam, indirectly hinting that we don't know what actually helps in achieving success. The Bhagavad Tattva is what truly helps in unlocking the success. In this shloka, he's telling, let me now again reflect upon that highest knowledge, highest among the supreme knowledge, understanding which the greatest of the Muni is a very nice operative word here. Manana Muni. Manana. Manana is the repeat internalization of the knowledge. We have to get to the meditative state of internalizing some knowledge, where it becomes part of us. Even in the middle of the sleep, we will play by that knowledge, through that acquired knowledge. That's the manana. Manana comes through repeat practice, abhyasa vairagya. Dispassion practice is what helps us attain that manana. And manana muni, though at the watered down English translation calls it as sages. Sages are the one who have gone through the grind of repeat practice, a dispassioned repeat practice, and internalize the knowledge. So that's how we have to understand the word sages. If sages is what means muni. Which muni basically means manana, repeat practice, dispassioned repeat practice. Now, munaya param siddhim gata. Now, I will tell you that supreme knowledge, understanding which, this is the same knowledge, even the munis attain highest siddhi. Now, Siddhi now becomes a non-translatable, right? Not just perfection. Perfection for what? We have to understand. So, Siddhi, though it is true, highest perfection is true, it has to be contextual, right? So, you will attain the Siddhi, Para Siddhi, extremely high amount of Siddhi by knowing this knowledge. The 14th chapter begins with such a proclamation, right, from Bhagavan. I'm telling you that supreme knowledge, knowing which you will attain the supreme Siddhi. Param Bhuyah Pravakshyami, the Parajnana, Param Siddhim. The Parajnana is required for the Para Siddhi. Very beautiful, right? Let's see what Aurobindo interpretation says. The blessed Lord, the Bhagavan Uvacha said, I will again declare the supreme knowledge, the highest of all knowings, which having known, all the sages have gone hence to the highest perfection. I hope it makes sense after the elaborated breakdown. But yeah, it's a very beautiful translation by Aurobindo. Okay, Harihi Om. Let's go to the next shloka, shloka number 2 of the 14th chapter. Harihi Om. Idam jnanamupashritya mama sadharmyamagataha sarge pinopajayante pralayena vyathanti cha. Idam jnanamupashritya mama sadharmyamagataha sarge pinopajayante pralayena vyathanti cha. I think between 13th and 14th chapter, I think we have to go back to the 7th chapter a lot of time. We have to keep on recollecting what was told in the 7th chapter. Right? Idam jnanam upashritya mama sadharmyamagataha sargepi nopajayante pralaye navyasanti cha. Right? Let's see the padacheda. Idam jnanam upashritya mama sadharmyam agataha सर्गे अपि न उपजायन्ते प्रलये न व्यथन्ति च उपपश्यति उपदृश्यति उपलिप्यते उपजायन्ते. See the word upa being used, the prefix upa continuously being used. Upa ashritaha, upajayante. Lot of upa. Upa is not a direct one, so here we have to take everything with a arm's distance, in a dispassionate way, right? Okay, let's see the Anvaya. Let's see how these words sound when we put them into a proper sentence. Idam jnanam upashritya mama sadharmyam agataha sarge na upajayante pralaye api cha na vyathanti. What does it mean? Idam jnanam upashritya. Having taken refuge in this knowledge. Idam jnanam upashritya. Now, ashritya is resorted to, taking refuge in, but upashritya, taking refuge in, having resorted to this knowledge. So we have to get the weight of this. Ashraya is taking shelter. Upashritya is taking, resorting to this knowledge. And that's the kind of an interpretation. Idam jnanam, this knowledge. So resorting to this knowledge, which knowledge? Whatever is about to be told. The one which is highest among the knowledge, which is the supreme knowledge. That's what he said in the previous shloka, right? So having taken refuge in this knowledge, and when we look at the seventh chapter, this jnana comes along with vijnana, vijnana sahita, vistara. No, ekastam tataha vistaram, what we saw in the 13th chapter, right? Basically, in the same conversation, there is no full stop anywhere. Bhagavan continues to speak from that point. The last shloka of the 13th chapter and the first shloka of this chapter are just continuity. So, what was spoken earlier in the 13th chapter makes a lot of sense. So, ekastam vistaram. It is the vijnana sahita jnana. V in the vijnana is basically vistara jnana. Vividhata vistara jnana. Vibhuti jnana. Vikrishta jnana. Vishishta jnana. Right? There is a vistara there also. Right? So, this is the vijnana sahita jnana. So, having resorted to this knowledge, mama sadharmya magataha, having come to my sadharmya, sadharmya of like nature and law of being with me. Basically, Bhagavad Dharma. Having come to Bhagavad Dharma. Now, Dharma is known as religion, right? We have to make sense. We'll come to that word a little bit. I think at least now, we have to spend some time in understanding this word Dharma, right? The last sloka of the 12th chapter spoke about Ye tu dharmya amritamidam, dharmya amritamidam. No, in the 9th chapter, he says, Pratyaksha dharmyam. It is, it is, it is perceivable, directly perceivable, and it is also dharmya. So dharmya as a word has been repeatedly used. Dharmya shreya anyat, the 2nd chapter. So I think we have to do some reflection of the word dharma. Mama sadharmya magataha. They have come to my true dharma, my original dharma, my natural dharma. So, having taken refuge in this jnana, in this knowledge, having come to my path of dharma, sargena upajayante, they are not born when the creation happens, and pralaye na vyathanti cha, and they don't undergo any trouble, nor they will be troubled at the time of dissolution, at the time of pralaya, at the time of the complete black holes, right? At the complete dissolution of the world. They will not have any miseries, no troubles, and they will not have any effect of creation. They will not have any birth at the time of creation. But again, this is not janana, not jayante, it's upajayante. Right? Upajayante. Come along. They won't have any new birth coming along. Like Upajanana, Sangat, uh, uh, Sangah teshu upajayate. No, Vishayan Pumsaha Dhyayataha Sangah teshu upajayate. Upajanana, as an example, right? Upajanana is not just birth. Janana Jayate is born. Upajayate, Upa, no, it's just an extended state of being. Right? Something just happens to us in that path. We feel we are being born. We feel there is a change happening. We feel there is a new phase occurring in our life. That transformation, that is upajanana, right? There is a transformation. So basically lack of upajanana means that we are stoic, we are untroubled. And lack of yatanti is also that stoic nature. We are equanimous now, right? So lot of sarga, pralaya keeps happening. See, sarga, pralaya are not one-time activities. It's not like, the way we hear, right? There is a thunderous sound, thud, the Big Bang happened and the creation came to be. That's not the way to imagine the creation. The sound is constantly coming out. The creation is constantly happening. The destruction, the resolution is constantly happening. Between the creation and the resolution, there are four other activities happening. There is maintenance happening. There is change happening. There is growth happening. There is a decay happening. Right? There are six forms of seemingly poles apart activities that are happening. Between the creation, there is dissolution, there is growth, there is decline, there is change, there is constancy, there is maintenance. These are the six activities of the Bhagavan, right? So basically, when we want to see a person gets into this Brahmi sthiti, which is the Sthita Prajna sthiti, which is the Samadhi sthiti, which is the state of Samatva, which is the state of Samabuddhi, which is the state of equanimity, the stoic nature, where no matter where creations are happening, for a seemingly lesser mortal state, okay, I'm getting promoted, I jump up in joy. Oh, I got demoted, I get dejected. Somebody close to my heart died. Of course, you will have the reflection of the good times of the person and things like that, but you will not lose the mind. And there is no yatha, there is no change in the attitude. You have that equanimity, right? So this statement needs to be understood with a little more weight. When sarge na upajayante pralaye na vyatanti, there is no more changes, emotional changes happening inside all of us. Okay, we will have that Chitta Prajna, we will have that absolute equanimity. Now, what is that equanimous state? For that, we have to take refuge in this jnana, vijnana sahita jnana, which is about to be told. The third shloka onward, he will tell about that jnana, right? But basically, having taken shelter in this jnana. And similar thing he mentioned in the 7th chapter also. Maya sakta manaha partha yogam yunjan mat ashrayaha. That jnana, that jnaya is the Bhagavad Ashraya. That upashraya of this Parama jnana is basically taking shelter under the Bhagavad Tattva. No, Ashraya, taking shelter under that one single thing, that Parama jnana. So taking refuge under this Parama jnana, mama sadharmya magataha, having come under my dharma. See, dharma, many a times we get a very, very misinterpreted, mis, mistranslated version of the word dharma. Dharma basically means dharanat. If we have to understand in English very simplistically, what is it that we are ought to do? What is it that is good for us? Two things together, right? What is it that we are supposed to do? What is it that is good for us? That is together, when we answer those two questions together, we get the answer for what is dharma. What shloka is that, Sudhaji? I remember the Tatparya Nirnaya version of it because it's easy, but there is something in the Karna Parva, no? Dharmasya charanam shreya dharma jnanam tu dushkaram. Do you remember that line from Karna Parva, Sudhaji?
Yeah, I'll just post it in the chat.
Okay, so please. So there is something interesting that Krishna tells Arjuna, which I think in a very, very summary way, dharmasya charanam shreya. Following dharma is extremely great, no doubt. But dharma jnanam tu dushkaram. But understanding what is dharma is an extremely difficult jnana, not easy to understand. This is something that Krishna tells Arjuna later. Even after Bhagavad-Gita, Arjuna didn't have enough from his Sarathi. Krishna had to come multiple times to help Arjuna. Right? Imagine then our case. No matter how much of study of Bhagavad-Gita we do, nothing will be enough. Right? We need more. But dharma jnana is extremely difficult. But in a very, very essential way, what Krishna tells is, yes, satam dharakaha nityam. The one that keeps protecting, uplifting, maintains the nobility in the society. Dharakah, satam dharakah, the one that protects the satam behavior, the noble behavior, the virtuous society. Sadharma iti nischayah. That is dharma, definitively. In a very, very simplistic sense, what is dharma? Dharma is that one keeps the equilibrium of the virtuous society for us. So when I say what is it that's good for us, what is it that we are ought to do, we can't look at it from a very, very selfish sense. No, Manusmriti says, araga dvesha bihi sevitaha. People without any raga dvesha, without any attachment, personal attachment, followed by such people. Dharma is that which is followed by the great people, vidvat people, such people, araga dvesha bihi sevitaha, without any self-attachment. So when we look at multiple scriptures in a very, very dispassionate way, when we think and understand what is good for us and what is it that we are supposed to do. Together, when we answer this question, we get to understand what is dharma. So there is something called the universal way of dharma, right? In another room, I think we were discussing this sometime back today, right? When we look at the dogs that meet the road accident, after losing a limb also, the dog is very quickly back on its feet with the 3 feet limping or whatever. It is not crying, it is moving on with life. But humans have this deficiency. We have something called the shoka, right? We have something called the lamenting ability, the the urge to keep lamenting about things of the past. Like today, there are many people still continuing to talk about, oh, the British looted our country. Some nonsense. What is done is done. Today we are what we have. Today we are what we are. We have to move on from this state. There is no point in talking about reparations and things like that. Of course, if some Western society is trying to do virtue signaling, we can throw back at them. But we can't keep lamenting, oh, this is why we are like this, and not put our effort to come out of this mess. If there is a mess in the society, we have to put in our effort. We have to move on like the dog. But we have this ability to not stay current, cry about things that happened 70 years ago, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 5,000 years ago. We will cry about imaginary discriminations also. We will cry about assumed, foreseen, problems of the future also. This is called the shoka. Bhagavad-Gita essentially begins with don't cry, don't lament, and ends with don't lament. In the 18th chapter also he says, Ma shuchaha, moksha ishyami, I will give you liberation, don't cry, don't lament. In the second chapter also it began with don't cry, don't lament. That is dharma, like the dog, like the cow. Look at any animal, they will not lament. It's only the humans who have the worst habit of keep lamenting for non-current issues. We have the dukkha, which is the momentary thing, but we have the shoka, which is the bigger thing. We keep lamenting about things that are not current at all. Keep crying about something of the past, keep imagining the pain of the future, and then keep crying. Right? That's the problem. Dharma is getting rid of these shoka, ability to, shoka and even the raga, right? We keep dreaming about something that is not even acquired. Oh, tomorrow this will happen, and cheer, like oh, something like that happened, cheer. We have this horrible nature of not living in the current time, right? Both dukkha, shoka, and sukha also, kushi also. We have that, things of the past and the future. We keep brooding over this, right? And this is our problem. We will forget about what needs to be done now. So that nitya, the current is the most important thing, right? Every animal tends to live as close to the current as possible. Like when we look at the lion, the stomach full lion, no matter what kind of a juicy animal comes in front of it, it is not at all bothered about the next meal. There is no holding concept in animal kingdom, except for a few. And those few also, all that they hold, they give it to somebody else. Like the bee, they keep holding the nectar in the beehive, eventually for somebody else to snatch it away. The ants, they keep holding, they create the ant hill, eventually for somebody else to snatch that entire ant hill away. right? The holding doesn't help anyone. And when we look at most of the other animal planets, they don't hold. They live for the current moment and move on. The carpe diem, the true, the free spirited life. Live for the current. That nityatva. That is the true Bhagavad Dharma. No, of course, the humans have a limited capacity at the time of birth. We have to save a little. We have to store the grain a little. We have understood something called the food security. We have to store, no doubt. But today, the storing of the food grain in the form of indirect instruments like the currency, the money in the bank, and things like that, we are now looking at the security of our next 5 generations, next 6 generations. Forget about the meal of the next hour. Forget about the meal of tomorrow. Forget about the meal of 10 days down the line. We are looking at few generations down the line. And that's how horrible we have gone. Right? So, Mama Sadharmyam, if you understand this jnana that is about to come, and when we go beyond the basic amount of security, right, it becomes greed. And that is not, this greed doesn't help us. And that is not the Bhagavad Dharma. Bhagavad Dharma is basically getting rid of this excessive desire. Bhagavad Dharma is getting rid of all the past and futuristic worries and the pleasures. Live the current, what you are supposed to do. Like, we don't worry when we are drowning in the sea. We don't really do analysis and paralysis to know whether I will survive or not. Till the last breath, whether I'm good at swimming or not, I keep flapping my hands and the legs. And many a times it happens voluntarily, involuntarily, without even thought. At a subconscious state, the flapping of the hands will happen. That is dharma. Dharma is basically something that is natural. In fact, when you look at any of the animal species, no animal species kills its own except humans, right? We are the only ones who have the ability to kill our own species. We have to come together as a flock. We have to come together as a society and face the external challenges, but no. And that happens because within us, only humans have the ability to go something called adharma. If there is dharma, naturally the animals know what is good for them. Every animal, look at the herd of buffaloes, when the pack of tigers come to hunt them, they know what to do collectively, right? Similarly, the pack of tigers also know what they need to do collectively. There is not a single tiger that behaves detrimental to the pack of the tigers, and there is not a single buffalo that behaves detrimental to the behavior of the buffalo or the existence of the buffalo. But humans, we can behave detrimental to our own existences. There is something called adharma that comes into play. Then there is a constant tussle happening between dharma, which is the Bhagavad laid out path, and adharma, which is the creation of this excessive greed, the non-current state of mind. Now, all of these things lead to something called the adharma. Then there is a constant fight happening between the dharma. There are a few people within the society who want to stay true to the Bhagavad Dharma, and there are people who don't really recognize this Bhagavad Tattva. They keep going in the adharmic path. But when we look at the dharma, which is the Bhagavad Dharma, not only for humans and for all species, it is the natural way in which we tend to understand what is good for us collectively and what is it that we are supposed to do. And that, in essence, is what dharma is. Cows know what to do, buffaloes know what to do, snakes know what to do, ants know what to do, tigers know what to do, the trees know what to do, the birds know what to do. Humans, some of them who surrender to the Bhagavad Tattva know, some of them who don't, who think, who get hijacked by the beauty of this creation, by the pleasures and the seemingly difficult moments of this creation. They see nothing beyond what is materially affecting them. They can't surrender to the Bhagavad Tattva. They tend to do more and more adharma. Because when we are born, we are given with a few inheritances, like shelter, like the food, what to eat, what not to eat, what to wear, how to protect ourselves from the weather. All of these things are basically contribution of endless amount of tapasya, efforts of our ancestors who have played the game by the Bhagavad Tattva, by Bhagavad Sadharma, and given it to us. But some of us don't even have any regard to that. We feel entitled for it, right? And we think it's our birthright to have all of them, right? And we move forward from here. And then in turn, we even let our ancestors down, not ancestors, immediate parents down. Most of us are in disagreement with our parents. All that we are is a step by step incremental progress from the greatest of the siddhis. And that's exactly what Krishna is alluding to. Taram siddhimito gataha munayah sarve. It is that greatness which has given us what we have currently inherited. This technology, everything is basically inheritance. All of these are incremental baby step progresses that we have acquired. And we have no regard to any of them. So when we hear the word Mama Sadharmyam being translated as the Sadharmya of the like nature and the law of being with the Bhagavan, I think we have to give it some thought. Like, what is Dharmyam? Yet Dharmyamritamidam yasoktam taryupasate. In the 12th chapter, he said that this Dharmya Upadesha, what was given to you, which was Amritamaya, which is the immortal nectar type. Okay, Shraddhadhana Matparama. They are the supreme bhaktas for me. Those who follow that Amritamaya Divya Upadesha, which is Dharmya, which is what you need to do. Right? We all need to do. They are the greatest of the bhaktas according to me. This is what he said in the 12th chapter. Right? Essentially, Bhagavad-Gita, this Yoga Shastra, is for all of us to follow the Dharma. That's exactly what comes out very clearly, be it in the first Shataka where he says, Dharmyati yuddha shreyonyat kshatriyasyana vidyati. Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha paradharma, swanushthitat. In the second Shataka he says, pratyakshaavagamam dharmyam susukam kartumavyayam. This Raja Vidya, Raja Guhyam, Pavitramidamuttamam, Pratyakshaavagamam dharmyam, Susakam Kartumab. This Raja Vidya, Guhyatama Raja Vidya is Dharmya Vidya. It is what will help us stay true to the Dharma. And he also clarified, Ashraddhanaha Purushaha. But those who don't believe in this fact, Dharmasya Asya Parantapa. But don't who believe in this Dharma of this, this Dharma, they will get completely relegated to abysmal life. That's what he says. And continues to mention that in the 12th chapter. In the 13th chapter, I think we will hear that till the 18th chapter. That Shreyan Sadharmo Vigunaha will be told in the 18th chapter. So this Yoga Shastra, this equanimity, is essentially needed for all of us to behave in that Dharmya Patha, that Bhagavad Dharma, that relentless, unbudging, unrelenting path of Dharma, which is the natural design of this God's apparatus called life. And that is the essence of, and what now he is declaring, right? And to be in that path, we have to stay current, not keep lamenting about the future and the past, not imagining about the future, nor lamenting about the past. No, not become excessively greedy, right? Look at the collective, unharming for other people of the society. Like together, how do we surge ahead? Right? No, we have to look at that. That's the dharma pada. Right? For that, we need to look at the equanimity. And now he says he's gonna reveal a little more jnana, like taking refuge under which we will be in that dharmya patha of Bhagavan. And once we stay in that dharmya patha of the Bhagavan, whatever new creations happen, whatever new phases of life that we face, life is all about something new happening every day. The constant change is the only constant in this life. Like, no, we will not have any upajanana. There is no more, oh, this is new. We will just go for it. If there is something to be done, we will do it. And what happens towards the end in terms of dissolution? That dissolution is one of those dosha, right? Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, Kha. These are all different types of dosha anudarshana. Right? So whenever there is a sarga happening, there is no upajanana for us. whenever there is pralaya happening, there is no yathana for us. We will be absolutely stoic by knowing this knowledge in little more detail. And what Bhagavan is telling at the beginning of this chapter, he is just giving an introduction. This jnana is that type of a jnana. You understand that you have better ways of coming in line with my dharma. You have better ways of keeping yourself in sync with the Bhagavat creation, that big God's device. I don't know if I could articulate that better. Let's quickly see what Aurobindo interpretation says. Having refuge in this knowledge and become of like nature and law of being with me, they are not born in creation, nor troubled by the anguish of the universal dissolution. That's almost like a verbatim meaning. But I think we spoke already enough in terms of how differently we can do the manana, the internalization of these thoughts. With that, I think it's 9:35. Anybody wants to come up and share some opinion, share some. Uh, huh. So, dharana dharma mityahu. No, dharmo dharayate prajaha. Dharmo dharayate prajaha. So, yasyat dharanam sanyuktam sadharma iti nischayah. So, this is something that Krishna tells Arjuna. What is dharma? So, what we follow as practices, what protects us. See, dharana comes, shares the same root as dhriti, dharani, dharti. You say dharti, right? Earth. Basically, there is a lot of determination, right? It's not easy to have determination. Like determination is what keeps the life afloat. Look at the way the earth is determined to stay afloat in this Kshira Sagara, in this oceanic plate. There is easily the earth can get collapsed. Look at our body. Our body has Pancha Mahabhuta, and in those Pancha Mahabhuta, one can't stand the other, right? But there is a determination to stay afloat with that jiva. Like we want to continue this life the way it is. That is determination, right? There is absolute gravity. The water particles can fall off. There is Agni Tattva inside all of us, which can evaporate the Aap Tattva, the liquid Tattva. The liquid Tattva inside all of us that can extinguish the Agni Tattva. But they both remain together. Agni in the Jataragni, in the stomach of all of us, continues to thrive despite all the Aap elements, all the enzymes in the stomach. And Dhriti, the Dharana, the Dharaka Shakti, actually makes them complementing one another. That's the Dhriti. Even when the opposing nature of entities come together, see, there will be ultimate dissolution where the elemental stuff, they tend to attract to one another. That's the dissolution. But the life also continues in its own sweet ways. And that's the dhriti, that's the dharana. Dharaka, the dharaka shakti, the dharana shakti, also has a lot of determination. The dhri dhatu is the same dhri dhatu, right? There is a lot of determination. So, dharana dharma mityahu. Dharma is called dharma by the fact of dharana. See, when we want to wear, dharan karo. When we see in Hindi, dharan karo, vastra dharan karo. Even when we wear the clothes, we call it as dharan. That's because, see, in a uncivilized life, it's okay to wear uncouth, soiled, torn clothes and things like that. But suddenly, when we turn our attention to civilized life, nobody wants to wear soiled clothes, torn clothes. If it's torn, it's difficult, but you stitch it. You fix the tear, right? You fix the soiled nature of the clothes. And soil, the dirt, is also not natural to the cloth. The, the, the dirt is actually external. The black color of the cloth is an external thing. So you tend to take it away. All the things away and look at the Shuddha Tattva and try to bring it back to the Shuddha Tattva. And there is a lot of effort needed to do the dharana. Even if somebody gives me, silver, it's not easy for me to keep the silver ornament and do some puja, do some silver pita or wear the gold bangle. I need to do constant polishing of that gold bangle, right? And there is a lot of dhriti needed, determination needed to keep it clean. Dharma comes from that determined life, that determined attitude. No, dharana dharma mityaho, dharmo dharayate prajaha. No, dharma, praja is the people who actually wear the dharma. It's a collective of the people who keep the dharma on. And then dharana dharma, and dharma is the one that is being worn, basically being protected. Dharana also comes with the protection, sustenance. Yes, yatya dharana sanyuktam sadharma iti nischayah. Okay, yet dharana syat. Whatever is well yukta, dharana, that is called as the dharma. Okay, but in another state, I think where is that yet satam dharako nityam? People, the noble people of the society, that is what is called as a dharma. Okay, so basically when we look at this, right, so to keep protecting the noble people of the society, there is a lot of determination needed. Dharma is not easy. And Yoga Shastra primarily is to help us stay perseverant, equanimous, stoic in our relentless pursuit of the Dharma and never give up. You uh, we fail in an examination. That's not the end of life, right? Our dharma is that we look at what next, what's the next course of action. Like how the dog, when it loses a limb in the road accident, nothing it's doing. Right? Some crazy humans, they have their own way of past life. The dog is supposed to be freely roaming here and there. It lost its limb, no sweat. It's back on its 3 feet, limping, but moves on with life. It's not crying all through its life. Oh, this humans. It doesn't even take the revenge on the humans. Very rarely they do that, right? Most of the animal world, they have that dharma in them, but they don't have the jnana in them. We people have the ability to acquire the jnana in us, but we are very weak at dharma because there are so much of pleasures around us, right? And we feel extremely entitled for all of these things. We don't know what's exactly behind all of this. Like we have zero gratitude to where we have acquired all of this. Like what happens when all of this, just disappears from our possession, right? So dharma, that that determined way of life where we keep going on and on and on. The dhril dhatu is the same dhatu that also brings out another word called dhriti, which is the determination, that fortitude. Okay, we adjourn now. If anybody has any further thoughts to add, please to come up. If there is any question. If not, I think we can conclude, adjourn for today. We will continue from the third shloka of the 14th chapter. We have completed 13 chapters now. So this is something that we do every Saturday, once in a week. We look at as many shlokas as possible, look at the pratipadartha, the word by word breakdown and the meaning of it. Try to get a sense of what Bhagavad-Gita is trying to say. And then this is not the end of it. No, with the basic word by word meaning, when we contemplate on the shlokas again and again and again, there are different meanings that it will try to reflect in our lives, right? And to help that also, we have the daily chanting of the Bhagavad Gita shloka. So we have another room every morning, 6 o'clock to 7:30. We chant approximately 100 shlokas of Bhagavad Gita every day in a lead and follow format. So it helps us get familiarity. For those of us who are not familiar, comfortable in chanting some shlokas, can come up and chant along with us. And the only way to get better with our ability to recite is by repeatedly chanting. So that's one of the objectives of that session. And also for those people who are familiar, it helps us to do a constant reflection on the shloka, the words of the shloka. So once we have the word by word breakdown properly done, then every time we chant the shloka, we will be looking at the broken words. And when we see the broken words, these words are quite common in every Bharatiya bhasha, like jnanam, ashritya, dharmyam, no, upajayante, pralaya, vyathana. All of these are very common in most of the Bharatiya bhasha. So we will have our own internalization of these meanings and then newer meanings depending on our current life situation. Right? So basically these two exercises where we spend 1 hour every day morning to to prepare ourselves for leading a very firm life, very decent life, very active life, very meaningful life, very purposeful life. 1 hour of chanting every day. For those who are not familiar with Bhagavad Gita chanting, can get yourself better with the chanting. And we have seen examples of people who have got amazingly better with their ability to recite, right, including ourselves, right? And once we get familiar, it will also help us do constant repeat chintana of the. So these two exercises are basically designed to give us the basics of Bhagavad Gita, and our life is long enough to help us gain the deeper meaning of the Bhagavad Gita. So please do spread the word, and do take active participation. We do encourage people to come up on stage, speak whatever little you understood. It will help us, expand our learning. No one, no one is short of what to be learned, yet to be learned. We all have something to be learned. So let's help each other in our journey as a community, as an open community like a clubhouse. So that's one strength we can tap into. Okay, if there is nothing more to be added, if nobody has anything further to add, let's adjourn now. We will meet next Saturday. Of course, the daily Parayana, the daily chanting will continue tomorrow with chapters 1 and 2. We start a new cycle of Bhagavad Gita chanting on Sundays. We conclude that particular cycle that week. And on every Saturday, we conclude a cycle. We chant the entire 18 chapters in those 7 days. So tomorrow we have 6 o'clock India time. We have a new cycle of Bhagavad Gita Parayana, chapters 1 and 2. So please do join us if time permits. And even if you miss 1 or 2 days, it's absolutely fine. You can easily slot back in. And try to take as much an active role as possible. Come up on stage and chant alongside with us. That's when we realize where to improve. And once you improve, little bit of practice, you will get better. Right? Anybody can chant Bhagavad Gita. In fact, everybody should chant Bhagavad Gita. Everybody should benefit from Bhagavad Gita. No one should be denied this amazing gift of Bhagavan, freely available in the Sanatana society, which is our Bharat Desha, Bharatavarsha. So that's one advantage of being born in this country, with whatever mother tongue we have inherited. So with that, let's conclude this room on the reverse count of 3. Please join me in a small Jai Ghoshti in the name of our Gita Charya Bhagavan Shri Krishna. 3, 2, 1. Namaste Vasudevaya Priyasame Priyottama Samastaguna Sampurna Nirdosha Nandadayine Mukopi Yatrasadena Mukunda Shayanayate Raja Rajayate Rikto Raghavendram Tamashraye Bharati Ramana Mukhya Prana Tarata Shri Gopala Krishna Priyatam Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Have a beautiful weekend, everyone. Have a beautiful week ahead. Let's meet again next week. Jai Shri Krishna.